Hi everyone, my name is Tinesh and my metric number is 147458. Today I will be presenting about Melati or Mel, which is one of the who is one of the main characters in the Weight of Our Sky by Hanna Alkaf. So let me introduce you to Melati or Mel. Melati is a 16 years old Malay teenage girl. She loves the Beatles. She loves her mother and her very best friend Sav. She is also unknowingly battling OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, which she believes to be a jinn living inside her mind in the 1960s when she's caught in the middle of the uh, May 13th incident. Um, Now I am going to describe her role in the furthering of the plot in the novel. So Mel, she went out with Shav, her best friend, to the Rex cinema where she meets Auntie B in the cinema. And then she follows Auntie B to her house and met the Chong family. And there's also episodes of OCD. So Mal serves as the main character in the story, as you know, the story revolves around her. When she embroils herself in the tensions between ethnic Chinese and Malays on the fateful evening of May 13, as she is out with her best friend in the city, she furthers the plot by also introducing characters such as mentioned previously, Auntie B, the Chong family, which includes Frankie, the elder son, and Vincent, the youngest brother, and many more. So next, her role in furthering the plot also rests on the complexity of her draining episodes of OCD, a condition triggered by her grief over the death of her father and her fear or anxiety of losing her mother as well, or anyone she holds dear to. Next, let me talk about the attitude towards the events of the May 13th tragedy. So, Malati was anxious because she was terrified of losing her loved one. Imagine, uh, you know, Malati having to, in one of the occasions, she had imagined, if I'm not mistaken, 17 times of various ways that her mother would die at the end of her school day. So having that imagine or always playing in your mind, and finally, you know, it translates into actuality where there's chaos, in the May 13th tragedy, and the likelihood for it to actually happen has increased way more significantly. So she was very anxious. Next is scared or fearful. So Melati was scared witnessing the violence of the May 13th tragedy. It was quite gruesome for a teenager or for any person from any particular age to witness that sort of violence suddenly erupted uh, because uh, she went to the cinema and out of a sudden uh, everything is upside down. So without saying, she feels scared and fearful, especially towards for her loved ones. She don't know what might happen to them. Next is how would I describe the attitude of Malati towards the racial conflict happening in the novel. So I feel like Malati was brave because, as mentioned previously, she was just a teenager, and as a teenager, to be able to witness something so terrifying at the age of 16 is something that is very uncommon and not everyone can do it. And uh, personally, after I have read the novel, I feel like Melati, she did very well in many occasions. For example, in one of the instances where even though she felt guilty because her best friend had passed away, right? In the she has become a victim. So she chose to not go to the grave when her family members were mourning, just to give her father, Melati's friend's father, Shaf's father, the peace of mind to mourn, so that the father would not be, I guess, tortured by the thought such as why did Melati was able to escape and not his own daughter. So I feel like Melati is a brave teenager. That's it from me. Thank you.
A very good day to all. My name is Elvin Chan. My metric number is 145979, and I will be answering some questions for HXE305 Week 9 tutorial. And the questions are related to the characters in The Weight of Our Sky. For my part, I will be talking about Auntie B. So these are the questions that I will be answering about Auntie B. So who is Auntie B? Auntie B is a Chinese middle-aged woman. She is Uncle Chong's wife and the mother of Vincent and Frankie. Her role in furthering the plot of the novel is that she was in the same Rex cinema with Melati and Safia. She saved Melati from the Chinese gangsters, and she hid Melati in the drain from the Malay mob. They narrowly escaped the shop fire by breaking open the back door, and Auntie B brought Melati to her house and feeds her. So, what is Auntie B's attitude towards the events of the May 13th tragedy? I would say that Auntie B has courage despite adversity. Despite facing violence, chaos, and multiple near-death experiences, Auntie B managed to be brave and survived them all. Next, she is anxious and fearful, but she prioritizes being kind. Auntie B did not make significant remarks on the tragedy itself. Her main focus is to protect her family and help those around her. She did make one remark when Uncle Chong was describing the racial riots, and that is, I think I prefer the communists. And then she backs that up with, what, better an outside force we can unite against rather than the bickering that divides us from within. This is met with a shocked reaction from Auntie B's entire family, probably suggesting that her opinion was unsolicited and therefore useless to the conversation. Now we talk about Auntie B's attitude towards the racial conflict happening in the novel. Overall, I can say that Auntie B is saddened by the racial conflicts. Auntie B is sad from the racial divide that is getting worse. She recalls back to a time when Vincent and Frankie were still small. They used to live in Kampong Baru, where the boys had many friends. Uncle Chong used to have a shop, and they had many customers. However, they were subjected to hostility from the Malays. They experienced microaggressions from the Malays. They even had to pay more to a local Malay gangster just to avoid trouble. In the end, they had to leave Kampong Baru because of the toll the hostility had on their son Frankie. And that is all from me. Thank you very much.
Next about Uncle Chong. Uncle Chong is one of the main characters of The Weight of Our Sky. He is Auntie B's husband and father of Vincent and Frankie. A kindly man, he helps define the house with his family during the riots. I think Uncle Chung can understand their actions in May 13 tragedy incident. He feels that his incident was premeditated. This has been brewing for a long time. Families resented that the Chinese occupied urban areas and become riots, and many of them are still poor in compound state. It is normal for this to happen. Some people shout to maintain Malay's supremacy. Some people try to promote Malayization, not just Malayization. Some people insist that China needs to protect our own interests. People of both races think of self-interest, so no riots will definitely arise. He thinks this kind of thinking is wrong. Therefore, he thinks racial conflict is wrong, but it is possible, understandable. They don't think of anything else in order to survive.
Hello, my name is Nurul, Hamizah, Hanis, Binti, Zaidi, Amrol with my metric number 147454, and today I'll be answering the 3 questions based on Vincent's character. So for the first questions, describe their role in furthering the plot of the novel. As for Vincent, we can see that he is a polite and very respectful towards others, even when he felt uncomfortable and worried. This can be seen on page 35 that goes, "But Ma, why are we taking her with us? Where's her family? Won't they worry about her?" Vincent runs ahead through his dark hair. And it also can be seen in the next paragraph, which stated, his expression is half angry, half confused. "I really don't think this is a good idea. No offense," he adds, flicking his eyes in my directions. This shows that Vincent is surprised and quite uncomfortable when he first met Melati with his mother, Auntie B, but he's still being respectful towards Melati even though he feels quite unsure about Melati's sudden presence in their car. His character also portrayed as a kind and warm-hearted person. When Melati cried because she missed her mother so much, instead of keeping quiet, he tried to console her and convince Melati that her mother would be safe. This can be seen on page 64 to 65, where stated, "He nods, and I can tell that he understands, that he is trying to find the words to console me. I'm sure she's alright," he says gently. "She's a nurse, you said. She must be very smart. She knows how to take care of herself. She keeps herself safe, you'll see." Moreover, Vincent is a warm-hearted character where he volunteered to help to heal people during the tragic incidents instead of joining the gangs to do violence, which contrasted with what Frankie feels, which stated on page 70 that goes, "I can do more for our people by taking up supplies instead of sticks," he says quietly. "I would rather help with the healing than the hurting." Secondly, what are their respective attitudes towards the events of the May 13th tragedy? So as for Vincent, we can see that how his character feels about all the violence happening around them during that tragic incident, and in my opinion, his character seems to have a strong hatred towards violence. This can be seen on page 53, where Frankie stated that the Chinese are doing the right thing by killing the Malays, in which Vincent's reaction shows that he's being sarcastic when he said that, "Right, it's perfectly fine that they're killing, so as long as they're not killing us." Next, Vincent's attitudes can be seen on page 68, where he told Auntie B that he joined to volunteer in the Red Cross. This scene shows that he has a big heart and empathy about what's going on around them. He said that, "I went and signed up with the Red Cross today, Ma. They need volunteers. I heard it on the radio. There are a lot of people out there who need help," he tells her. "A lot of people trapped where they are without any food to get through the days. A lot of people who might be hurt, who need medicine, doctors, hospital." And he also continued when his mother praises him and said, "Someone has to, Ma. If we stay inside and do nothing, then what's the use?" So instead of ignoring and sit still during the tragedy, he tried to participate as much as he can and also volunteer to help as much as he could. Thirdly, how would you describe their character, their attitude towards the racial conflict happening in the novel? In my opinion, as for Vincent, he seems to felt unsatisfied, annoyed and hateful with the racial conflict going on. And this can be seen on page 47 that goes, "But why though?" Vincent says, his voice rising. "Why now? When did it get so bad? My friends and I, we're all different races. Nobody says, oh, you're Chinese, we can't be friends. Or, oh, you're Malay, guess you're on your own then. That's stupid." And also on page 70 that goes, Vincent's side, "Frankie, your people, my people, our people, they're everyone. They're Malaysians. It's not Malays killing Chinese or Chinese killing Malays. It's stupid people killing stupid people." So instead of labeling the people according to the races, he uses the word stupid people killing stupid people, which shows that he thinks that it's not actually the races that becomes the actual problem here, but it's about how some people cannot think further and how they are so obsessed with the racial conflict when there is actually nothing, and that all of this only started with a stupid provocation that end up dividing the people and causes all this chaos and violence. I guess that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Iqbal, and the tweet number is 145.941. Okay, today we are going to discuss about a novel, This the Weight of Our Sky by Hanna Alkaf. So basically, The Weight of Our Sky is a fictional story, based on actual historical events that took place here in Malaysia. The story is about Melati, a teenage girl who is unknown with battling obsessive compulsive disorder, which is OCD, which she believes to be a jinn living inside her mind in the 1960s when she is caught in the middle of the 30 May racial riots in Kuala Lumpur. It is an actual event that happened in Malaysian history. So for my part, I will explain to you guys about Frankie, which is one of the major characters in the novel. Okay. Frankie is a 19 years old boy, and he is also the son of Auntie Bees, is Vincent's older brother. Okay. Next. Okay. How about the attitude of Frankie's portrait after the May 30th tragedy and his attitude towards the racial conflict happening in the novel? Okay. First, Frankie is full of hatred and revenge after the May 30th tragedy happened. It is because the tragedy has caused many loss of lives, especially Chinese. Okay, the Malay riots attacked the Chinese because the Malay thought that Chinese want to take a revenge after the general election happened in Malaysia back then. And second is Frankie had a trust issue with his surrounding, especially the Malays. And third is Frankie is prejudiced towards the Malays due to the racist comments he got as a child. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day. I'm Izzatin Binti Farok, metric number 147594. Today I'm going to do presentations on the novel The Weight of Our Sky by Hanna Alkaf. So the first questions: who are the major characters in this novel? It is Salma, Melati's mother. The role in furthering the plot of the novel: despite being a nurse, Salma shies away from modern diagnosis for her daughter when Melati shows signs of suffering beyond physical pain. Worried about the stigma surrounding mental health, which is a common belief shared by many Malays or even Asians, Salma resort to seeking alternative treatment from bomos or shamas or usta instead of seeing a proper psychiatrist. Some reactions of seeking alternative treatment this way is a typical of the Malays. The Malays have long ago, until now, depended on the magical and medical realm to seek treatment, especially for ailments which are not visible. To the Salma, decisions of seeking an alternative treatment is of utmost importance in determining further actions to unfold in the novel. It is precisely because of these decisions that Melati is forced to channel the pain into her own self and try her best to deal with it in her own creeping wages as long as she can survive. Someone took care of her OCD Dr. Melati and believes Melati has been haunted by a jinn. She takes Melati to different imams and healers to no avail, and knowing that the common treatment at the time is to have their suffering caused after an asylum and experimented on, something Melati's mom, Salma, was never to let happen. Melati suffers alone. What are the respective attitudes towards the event, the May 1913 tragedy? As you can see, the first part of the novel before the May 13 tragedy, Salma has been portrayed as a mother who leaves her daughter but unable to reconcile to her mental illness, most probably due to her upbringing as a Malay subject who avoids facing stigma and fear of losing face in her community. Furthermore, seeking alternative treatment is so highly acceptable in the Malay community since hundreds of years ago, and Salma does not really see it to something that is atypical of a Malay subject. All this aspect only help to institute the image of a submissive and succumbing person who attempts not to go against the parameter of the image already drawn for her. After the May 13 her respective towards the event, now Salma is now ready to put her life at stake in order to help others. She's prepared to leave the safe haven of the school to bring Ethan, a child who's injured, to the hospital by driving a van owned by the school, and she's even willing to leave Malati behind at the school so that she can bring Ethan to the hospital. Salma is now a fighter who can leave her daughter behind if needed be because she has a mission to accomplish, that is to save Ethan. The desperation surrounding the bloody 13 May 1699 has been massive enough to transform Salma into a martyr. As discussed earlier, Salman has shown not to be somebody who step outside of their comfort zone. She have a boundary to follow, but now she's not. 13 May 1699 is a date that brings with the whole magnitude of the complexity of ethnic relations in this country. It is not a date to celebrate, but surely a date to remember due to the painful lessons all citizens in the country must learn and truly ponder. That is the date when most Malaysians now become who we are due to certain policies based to curb the ugly, extremely negative emotions overflowing to a bloody, indescribable mess. Malaysia prior to the had never witnessed any overt racial clash. Therefore, when racial tension erupted with such violence, those who were directly affected by that to change overnight, adapt, and be a different person to survive, like how Salma did. This is what exactly happened to Salma. If prior to that, as we can see, she's a very motherly kind of person, but now she's a fighter. How would you describe the attitude towards the racial conflict happening in the novel? I will describe the attitudes towards the racial conflict happening in the novel as a brave and fighter, as someone had to change overnight, adapt, and be a different person to survive. The event was really massive, so Salma had changes to become a new person. Thank you.